So I'm gonna rank my favorite nations in history. We've got 33 massive empires. I'm gonna put them on this tier list. By the way, if it wasn't obvious, this is just my opinion. Even though I'm gonna say that, it's probably still gonna piss a lot of people off. Every time I do a video like this, it always makes a lot of people mad. But don't be afraid to smash like and tell me why I'm wrong in the comments. Let's get this first one straight out of the way. I'm sorry, but Rome has to go in the top tier. Ever since they came around, there's been countries cosplaying as Rome thousands of years later. And actually, a lot of those countries happen to be on this list. I mean, it just had such a massive impact on everything. Even when it's split apart into two different sides, they left their own impact. Took all these barbarians to take them down. Obviously, they weren't gonna last forever. And let's not forget, they had to defeat a pretty strong Carthage in the very beginning. It wasn't like they just came up out of nowhere and they weren't really tested. And I'm always shocked just how far they managed to get cities. Like way deep into the Nile River in Egypt, and then all the way up here near Scotland. They were just slapping Roman settlements everywhere. Plus, they filled the entire Colosseum with water once and staged an epic sea battle. Honestly, probably just because they were bored. They had nothing better to do. So now that the Italian peninsula pretty much got the biggest dub of all, it's time to deal out some L's. And I'm sorry, Italian Empire. Someone's got to go at the bottom of this list. I can't just pretend like no one is going to go down here. To make it clear, I don't think that they're a bad empire. I'm just saying compared to other people on the list, yeah, I'm just sorry. I don't think people give them enough credit though. I really think things could have turned out different in WW1 if they actually sided with the Central Powers. They were that coin toss that I think could have helped out a lot in Europe. Actually, I will probably change my mind about some of these when I have all of them on the tier list. So don't get mad until the end of the video. So this list only has the Russian Empire / Soviet Empire. I guess they are kind of the same. Yeah, we're gonna have to bring these guys up pretty high. They probably would have got that ultimate tier if the whole 1990s didn't happen, if the tearing down of the wall didn't happen in Berlin. Oh, I guess this is Russia. It's not the USSR, because they would have had all like these puppet states in Eastern Europe. Russia's massive, and maybe I could have put them at that top spot if they didn't lose to Japan in the beginning of the 20th century. That was not really the best look, but then again, everyone underestimated Japan. Still, they beat back so many others, it's crazy. Gotta put another one on the bottom. This time, it's Belgium, and honestly, is it really a surprise? I mean, again, just compared to everyone else on this list, they can't get like a top tier spot. Also, I can't really put you that high considering all the terrible things you did. I'm actually thinking about bumping up Italy, but we'll see. Let's go with the Vikings and their empire, the Viking Empire. I've never really thought of the Vikings as an empire, but I guess that works. The map that we're using in the tier list doesn't really do the Vikings justice, although maybe they're just talking about Norway, but this is the extent of Scandinavian settlement. They went everywhere, and they obviously left a huge impact, especially here, and they found North America first. But most importantly, they pulled the greatest prank in human history, calling this Iceland and this Greenland. All right, let's just get this out of the way. Anime land, they're going up there. One of the only nations that said, hey, we could do what Europe does too, and they did, and it was horrible. It always amazes me the battles they had against British Raj. They went so far over here, it's crazy. If only they didn't take that vacation to Hawaii, they might have still had all this. Plus, we talked about it before, earlier in the century, they got a pretty big dub over Russia. Let's not forget about that. One of the only nations I think definitely deserve to go in that top spot. Who is it gonna be? Obviously the horse people. The Mongolians obviously didn't last as long as the Romans, but how could you say no to this? The world is just so lucky they never figured out the whole boat thing. If they figured out the boat thing and invaded Japan, I don't even want to think what could have happened. And they all did it so fast. It was like this nation just got like a huge buff in one update. Everyone else was nerfed. I think it's a good idea to now talk about a nation that kind of stopped Mongolia. At least it stopped them at their borders. Poland-Lithuania. For me, I just love this big chunky country. I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit biased. This is just one of my favorites. I don't know what else to say. They lost some battles here and there and they got their land like chipped away, but pretty amazing what they were able to accomplish considering where they were. Here we go, the spiciest nation of them all, the Dutch. They kind of had like a corporate empire nation too. Considering their size, I just gotta put them up high. I mean, they did all this, again, size, considering their size. Held down Indonesia for a very long time. Don't forget, they even had this too over here for a little bit. They were homies with Japan, one of the only countries that were able to like trade with them for like those couple centuries. I think they deserve to go pretty high on the list. Did I put them at C? I meant to put them at B. Okay, so we're putting in some work. Still have a little bit to go though. This one is really tough. The British. I think I want S tier, but I'm border here. I don't know. I feel like this is just going to be a coin toss. Depends on how I'm feeling that day. They controlled a quarter of the world. Like, it's hard to argue against that. They technically have the largest empire in history, 35 million kilometers, which does beat out the Mongolians by a lot. Yeah, this one's really a toss-up. Can I put it like in between? I feel like the Ottomans don't get enough credit. I realized that they were like, what do they call it? The crumbling man for a long time. Like, they were around, but they were just slowly falling apart for like hundreds of years. But just look how far they got. If only they like got some colonies, they should have gone to Australia. Should have colonized Australia, man. Come on now. Spain definitely going in that A tier. This map is misleading because you can't even see all their New World colonies. This is the areas of the world that at one time were territories of the Spanish monarchy or empire. Wow, when I look at this kind of thing, I should bump them up. This is crazy. Oh, this includes territories when they had Portugal under the Iberian Union. If only they stuck around, they kept this for a little bit longer. That probably doesn't sound right to South Americans. I'm just talking about this. Might as well do Portugal next. Again, considering their size, they did pretty well. I always loved how they just went all in on Brazil. They weren't really gonna worry about other stuff. I mean, they got this stuff after WW1, but they just went all in right here. And then they kind of just dotted the rest of the coastlines around the world. I think I read that France has the most military victories ever, which is depressing because, you know, everyone always makes fun of France. Or maybe it's by percentage or something like that. I'm not sure. There's so many different Frances to consider. Like, this isn't even like Napoleonic France when they went crazy. Yeah, because they had all this too, and they eventually lost that. Then they got angry and started taking it out on all of Europe. It took all of Europe to take down Napoleonic France. Again, it's kind of a coin toss. I kind of want to put them in S tier. It depends on the day, but for aesthetic purposes, I need to make sure this tier list is like filled out proportionately. Gotta love those big, sexy German Empire borders. Again, German Empire, different Germany. We'll get to the other Germany. They lost all this after the Great War, but just those European borders. Kind of terrifying that they got all this so fast. Wait, what about the prequel to Germany, the Holy Roman Empire? I don't know what to do with this one. I've been thinking about it. I don't know. It's a really weird one, honestly. I don't know. It's such a confusing mess. Maybe I'll just leave it here. I mean, this looks sexy. This definitely looks pretty nice. But then when you dive deeper and you look at this, which is what it really was, we just like simplify it. Oh, I don't even know what to say. I'm still confused what this even was. Now this says Austria-Hungary, but can we include the entire Empire of Austria? I guess it depends. It doesn't, I don't know what to do with it because is this just talking about, I don't know. The old Alabama of Europe. I didn't start that either. I heard that from somebody. I heard people were using that. That's because of the Habsburgs. Just the Habsburgs, I think. I don't think there's other reasons why this is called the Alabama of Europe. What do I do with the Qing dynasty? Because they're technically one of the biggest empires of all time, but they also like fell apart massively after the British sold them a little something something. The USA is weird because did we even have an empire? I don't really know what to do about this one because this feels weird. I mean, we had the Philippines and we had all these specific islands. We had a lot of friends. We had like a lot of soft power. Like we pretty much controlled it, but you know, not on paper. This one feels strange to me. I'm not sure. Actually, a lot of these ones are gonna be tough now. Hey, yo, Mali was mega rich. They gotta go up here just for being so rich. Mansa Musa. He led the Empire of Mali and is considered to be the wealthiest individual of the Middle Ages and of human history. This is because they taxed trade in and out of the empire along with all gold Mansa Musa had. So it might not look like a lot, but they had all the gold. The Abbasid Empire has to go pretty far up there. They're like a prequel, kind of a prequel to the Ottomans, very similar to the Ottomans. All right, let's just get this out of the way. It's no Germany time. I mean, yeah, they got pretty big, but it was kind of short-lived, like 6 years lived. I mean, I guess I'll put them above the German Empire, but they weren't able to keep this. This is obviously really way up to interpretation because it's hard to do this. How do you rank some of this stuff, honestly? Love the Aztecs, love what they did, but considering everyone else on the list, I kind of got to put them down here. Babylon Empire, again, one of the first to do it. I think I'm obligated to put them a little higher just for being so old. Egypt, one of the oldest countries around. They gotta go up pretty high. Byzantium is gonna be up in the B tier for Byzantium. Where else am I gonna put them? They are B all the way. There's gonna be so many Byzantium fanboys that probably want me to put them up higher, but I'm sorry. What am I supposed to do with these older empires? It's really hard to like compare them to what we were doing before. The Moguls or the Muggles? Harry Potter people. I liked thick India. I don't even know what this map is at this point. Which one's Greek? Which one's Persians? I'm assuming this is the Greeks. Oh, it's Persia. The Assyrian Empire can go B tier. The rest of these could probably go B or C tier. There we go. Like I said, I already know you disagree. Tell me why in the comment section. This really depends on how I'm feeling this day. This is just how I'm feeling right now. I'm sure there's some things that could be said that would probably change my mind. I tried my best to account for how small the nation started or when the nation started. It gets kind of complicated though, because we're talking about like huge countries up here and then much smaller ones later in history. But who am I kidding? I basically just use my meme knowledge to rank all these. And thank you to the December patrons: Plebeian Tribune, Julius Cheeser, Lenin Lover 419, FusionWolf, Manny 74, RalseiTree, DOOCHBAGGINS, Deezer123, Mac, Ratsmacker 3000, AryanAfterHours, LuxembourgLover, Mayonnaise Incorporated, Pelovski, Ballinlikestalin, Elijah Senpai, and stepstowar. Thank you